morning. Welcome to your bite-sized word on Kathy Mill Ministries. This morning we are going to deal with a little bit of fear. I'd like to read to you 2 Timothy 1 verses 6 and 7. Therefore, I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Now, this spirit of fear that Paul is referring to is in connection with Timothy stirring up the gift of God in his life. Because, as you all know, fear is the main thing that's going to stop you stepping out and operating, using the gifts that God has. But I want to bring it into another context today, and that is fear that paralyzes us and stops us moving into the new because of the unknown, because did God really say, can I really trust what God said, and all of those questions that come when God says move into the new, let go of the old and move into the new. But remember, verse 7 is the one we're focusing on. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I want to say it this way: resurrection life, resurrection power has dealt with the paralyzing sting of fear. Fear has the ability, if we allow that fear, it's like a scorpion that comes and stings us and sends poison into our system and does some damage. Fear has the potential to paralyze us when it comes to moving forward into anything, doing anything, trusting God for anything. The spirit of fear is very powerful if we allow that fear to take hold. And so we need to remember that God has not given us a spirit of fear. There may be opportunities where we are anxious, where we're fearful because we don't understand, but we don't give in to that because God has given us a spirit of power, love, and of a sound mind. Intimidation has nothing on us. It's just intimidation to try and get us to stop. And I came up with a new word the other day, and I call it paralyze. And when we paralyze, we become people who set up camp in the old season because we are fearful of where we're going. We're not sure what's going to happen. We think we might fail if we trust God for something new and something better, and the increase that He's promising the church at this time. And when we're surrounded by darkness, He says, my glory will be seen upon my people. And so we can paralyze by setting up camp in the old and the familiar because we're happy to stay there. One part of us is happy to stay there and set up in the familiar, but the other part inside of us is looking at the promised land and longing to be there, but we become paralyzed by fear. So we pitch our tent in the old season, we light our fire in the old season, and we sing all the songs of the old, the memories of the old days. But inside is a longing to get out there in the wide open spaces. So let me read something to you from 100 Glorious Days, the devotional. And the chapter here is called Wide Spaces. Moving forward is not for the faint-hearted. That's why we walk by faith and not by sight. If we did everything by sight, we would do nothing. If we allow what we see around us to dictate to us, then we will go back or stay where we are. God is always calling us out of our comfort zone to be where He is. The place of grace is the place we're meant to live from. The wide open spaces of faith in His love and grace are waiting for us to live the abundant life that Jesus paid for, an abundance of joy and peace no matter the circumstances. We're surrounded by favor and unconditional love. Don't be willing to compromise with fear and settle for less than God's best. The best is yet to come. I'm going to read a declaration to you in a minute, but I'd like to say to you, when you are in this place of knowing God is calling you out of your comfort zone, your faith is being stretched, you're being called out there, commissioned to go deeper with God, and it all starts with intimacy with God. You have to be hearing from a place of intimacy, not a place of works or performance or a need to strive. And so your emotions come and go. One day you'll feel great, the next day you might feel discouraged. It happens to every single one of us. But the one thing that remains the same is your purpose. Even your calling, the season of doing something can change. Your calling is never removed or changes, but what you're doing to fulfill your calling can change. but your purpose always remains the same. The reason why you're doing what you're doing, your big why. Why am I trusting God for more? What has God said to me? Your why. The promises become the framework around your purpose, because God always speaks into your purpose. And so if you're in this place where you feel that you've been paralyzed and you're camping in an old season but longing for the new, get out the promises of God. Begin to get to grips with your purpose. What has God called you to do? What are you wired up to do? And your purpose will keep you longing for the new, but it'll also help you to pack up your campsite in the old season and keep going, no matter how you feel, because you know you have a purpose. So here's my declaration for you today. God has called us into wide spaces, not the limited places of fear, restriction, and unbelief. Lord, today my declaration is that the best is yet to come. I believe that you want what is best for me and for my family. I thank you for your grace. I thank you for abundance. That's your declaration today. So don't become paralyzed today. Be a person who says, I'm going for the wide open spaces because I know God is with me. So be encouraged with that today.